Well, welcome to another Aussievision preview video. I'm Sam, and I'm joined by some lovely Aussievision contributors here who are expert in the various national finals this week. So we're saying hello to Laura, Hayley, and Emma. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. G'day. Great to be here.
Yeah, so good to see Laura back again, and Hayley and Emma making their debut on the weekly preview videos for this year. So lovely to have you. For this week, we're doing a bit of a voyage around the Baltic. Poland has the national final Friday evening Europe time, and Norway, Estonia, and Lithuania have their national finals Saturday evening Europe time. So doing a bit of a cruise around the Baltic today. So I thought we'd start up north and sort of work our way clockwise in terms of countries. So we'll start off with Norway. So they have several artists who have already competed at Eurovision, including Wigwam in 2005 and Bobby Socks, the big one, in 1985. So Emma here is sort of our Scandinavian expert in the team. So I'm going to throw to you for some Norway-specific questions, Emma. So do you think Bobby Socks have any chance of representing Norway again this year? And what do you think of the song?
I do not think they have any chance of representing Norway. Look, it's great to see artists back in national finals that have done Eurovision before, but I don't think this song sounds straight like it was straight from the 80s which is when they won Eurovision for Norway. It's a happy, pleasant song, but it's not bringing anything groundbreaking to the table. I just couldn't see people going for it. I think it'll be nice to see them back on the stage together, and they'll have a lot of fun, and it'll be very entertaining for everyone. But I think this has got absolutely no chance of going to Eurovision.
Hayley, I see you have very vigorous head motions. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I agree. It's very cute. But in saying that, I wonder if they would get some kind of vote if they represented Norway again. Would there be some market for it then? But I agree with you, Emma. I don't think they've got a chance. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for a song that's called Joyful, it really doesn't spark much joy, does it? Obviously they were one of my favorite 80s winners, but I think they've come back 35 years too late. The only caveat I would say is they are last in the running order, and Norway is very sentimental for former winners. So Alexander Rybak in 2018 won from last place in the national final with, I think, is it That's How You Write a Song, which is a very poor song in my opinion. So that's the only caveat I have there. But let's see how it goes. But they aren't actually the bookie's favorite. Someone called Kyle Alessandro is the bookie's favorite. So Emma, do you see him going potentially flying the flag for Norway and Basel?
I think Kyle would be the best choice for Norway after listening to the nine songs that are competing in the national final. I must admit that my first listen, I sort of thought, there's a lot going on here. I'm really not too sure about this, but I tend to listen to the songs before I look and see what other people think of them or what the favourites are to
Yeah.
try not to have a biased opinion. And when I had a look after I finished listening, I noticed that that was the favourite. I thought, okay, I'll go back and give it another few listens. And then I sort of thought, okay, yeah, I think this is the one for Norway. This would be their best option, I think.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't stand out as much to me. I think I'll talk about some a bit later, but might throw out to everyone, maybe starting with Hayley. So does Kyle stand out to you, or are there other acts that you would prefer to see represent Norway? Yeah.
Well, I don't have an opinion on who I think should represent Norway, but I remember when I heard that song, knowing it was the favorite, I was a little bit surprised because I didn't really understand why, because to me that really didn't pop out at all to me.
Mm. Yeah. But any of the others pop out for you, or not really?
No, not this year, I'm sorry.
No, all good. It is a bit of an interesting lineup. It was funny because Emmy, a Norwegian, is
Yeah.
representing Ireland. I think she would have had a very good shot
Mm.
winning with this lineup. Laura, do any Norwegian acts stand out for you in this lineup or not really?
I will say, I mean, there's one other act that stands out to me, and that's Natalie with her song The
Mm.
Game. Now, it does sound a little bit like a certain other Norwegian entry from a couple of years ago, Queen of the Kings. And I know she's made several TikToks and videos on social media with Alessandra, like highlighting their similarity and almost just making a bit of a joke about it. Like, haha, aren't they so similar? Aren't they so great? Type thing. And I will say it definitely stuck in my head a lot more, possibly because of that. But I am a little bit concerned that televoters might hear it and be like, oh, that sounds like that other song that they had a couple of years ago. Even the once a year viewers, because I know Queen of the Kings did very well, came top 5. So probably one that would stick in their minds a little bit more. As for Kyle Alessandra's song, I know he was in MGP a couple of years ago with a band, and they together performed a song called Geronimo. The band was Umami Tsunami, and I thought that song was a lot better, a lot stronger than this one. But this one, his solo song, I do struggle to remember it, and I've listened to it a few times, but I'm kind of struggling to remember how the tune goes even now. So I don't think personally that bodes well for his chances at Eurovision. That being said, it is very accessible, very radio friendly, all things that will work in his favor. And if he delivers a very good live performance and connects down the camera, has that charisma, I reckon it does have a chance of winning MGP and doing decently at Eurovision.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think also because there's a lot of female acts in this lineup. So as a guy, I think he does stand out a bit, but not an overwhelming favorite with the bookies, just a narrow favorite. Coming back to the Norway expert in Emma, any other entries like sort of catch your fancy out of this lineup that we haven't discussed?
Well, I agree with Laura in that I think Natalie is the if it doesn't go to Kyle, then she would probably be the most I think it's between those two. But the other song that I quite liked is the song that's up first, Last Song by Tony Damley. I probably totally butchered that pronunciation. I really liked that one. I don't know that it would necessarily do much at Eurovision, but I thought it was actually a really quality song. When I listened to it, I thought, oh, wow, this sounds like something that Dua Lipa or someone like that may release. I thought it was really high quality. And when I had a look, I noticed that one of the songwriters was Sophie Simmons, who is the daughter of Gene Simmons from Kiss, who's got quite good credentials in the music world in America. So it's got a strong team behind it. Like I said, she's opening the show. I don't think it's necessarily got enough big moments to do much at Eurovision, but I thought it was a really quality radio kind of track that was really good. The other one that I quite liked as a bit of an outside chance was also Ladybug, which gave me sort of Lady Gaga type vibes, or even early Madonna. That was with Hot as Hell in Paradise. Quite enjoyed that one as well. Once again, don't know that the voters will go for it, although she is up 8th in the lineup, which may help her. But I think they're the other two that I can see. We do have Wigwam in the show as well. So they represented Norway in 2005. They're a very sort of rock, sort of metal kind of group. I think their track will have some fans, but we saw Norway sort of sent a song like this last year and didn't go so well for them. So I don't think that I don't, unless they've got sensational staging, I don't think that's going to be enough to get them across the line. So for my money, it's really between Kyle or Natalie, I think, for the win.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emma. That was such great analysis as always. I'll only add for I think Tona Damley, she has the most streamed on Spotify out of all the entrants. So that doesn't really mean much, but could mean something. I just find it very ironic. A song called Last Song is the first song in the lineup. But
I hadn't thought of that.
But a very perhaps not so great selection from Norway this year, which is a shame. But that's all right. There are other countries to look on Saturday. So obviously we also have Eesti Laul on Saturday evening as well. I think this year, Laura, please correct me as the Estonia expert, they had a change in format. I think they only had like sort of one main show as opposed to the semi-finals and quarterfinals. So we have a bookie's favorite in Tommy Cash. So of course I'm going to pass to Laura first as the Estonia expert. What do you think of this song, and what do you think of its chances of winning the whole of Eesti Laul?
Look, I will say it has a very strong televote appeal, is like my first thought in my head. It's quite catchy, very memorable. It definitely does stick in your head after the first listen. So that really strongly works in its favor. I would also love to see some suitably wacky staging from Tommy Cash. I know he's making his Eesti Laul debut this year, but he has been quite popular in the Estonian music scene for quite a while, since like late 2010s, I want to say. Um, I reckon it should see, if it does get chosen, it should see Estonia through to a Eurovision final, because it would have
Oh
that
yeah.
sort of like wacky sort of
Yep.
appeal that perhaps more casual once a year Eurovision fans can get into. Um, and I do believe he's quite popular. He has an extremely strong chance of winning. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't win, if he doesn't get to that super final and win that super final. I know there have been people winning super finals from like as low as like ninth place in the jury. So
Mm.
um, I know even while it's not like perhaps a song that you'd think that juries would immediately go for, I do think a strong televote will be there for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I think it's also that super final because it's televote only, I think. Yeah, pretty much swings in his favor. Hayley, what do you think about Tommy Cash?
I'm not a fan of this song. I'm really sorry, but I agree with what Laura said. I would be surprised if it didn't win, and it is so catchy. It's one of those songs you can imagine watching at the grand final, and then when they start doing the voting, with the numbers down the bottom, you would remember this one. So I think it is likely going to win. But gee, it's a really strong national final again. Estonia have just knocked it out of the park. There's so many decent songs this year.
Yes, and we'll talk about, well, I'll hear your opinions in the next question about which ones you think are good, but I just want to quickly throw to Emma as well. Are you a fan of Tommy Cash or not so much like Hayley?
I don't mind it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Having said that, I think it probably will be our winner. But yeah, there was a couple of others that I think may have a shot if that's not your thing. So the two that I particularly liked was Alyssa, and Andre Zivakin were the two other ones that I quite liked, and I think I'll probably keep listening to sort of on Spotify throughout the season. Yeah, so I guess it will really depend on whether the juries give him any votes. We often see juries at national finals tend to just, I don't know what criteria they're using, but it's yeah, they often throw votes to songs that are sort of popular with the public more so. Probably they're awarding points based on what they like personally, I think, rather than judging the vocals and all the other things that juries are meant to look at. So yeah, I think obviously that'll play a big factor, but yeah, I would be surprised if Tommy Cash didn't win, and I think if that song went to Eurovision, I think that would be a certain qualifier.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially in the 100% televote
That's
semi-final
right.
era that we're in now.
Mm.
Good to hear you're a fan of Alyssa. Emma, I know we have mixed opinions in this group. It is my favorite, but also noting it is the Aussievision ranked favorite
Yeah.
surprise winner. I'm going to throw back to Hayley. So who else are you enjoying in this Eesti Laul lineup, and who could really have a shot of winning?
Well, I can't answer the second question, but I can
Okay.
tell you what I do like. So I like to listen as well. And I will admit I was quite surprised it won the Aussievision televote as well. When I gave it points, I thought, oh, I bet you no one else does, because I always feel like I'm out on my own giving points to songs that no one else likes. So I was pleased to see that. I really liked Jeanette's song this year as well. There was the Minimal Wind song. Every time that comes up on my playlist, I really enjoy listening to it. But my favorite is Fallon's solo anthem. I just think that is a
Mm.
great pop rock chick
Yeah.
anthem, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So, as for who could possibly win other than Tommy Cash? I couldn't tell you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fair because Tommy Cash is a very, unlike Norway, a very, very strong favorite with the bookies, and crushing it on Spotify compared to the other acts. So that's very fair. And yeah, with the last word on Estonia, of course, got to throw back to Estonia expert going to Eesti Laul this week. Yeah, Laura, any other songs you think we should look out for?
Oh, before I mention the other songs we should look out for, I think I want to say that while Alyssa did with the Aussievision ranking, it was extremely divided. I was a bit shocked at how divided the team's opinions were because there wasn't a song that more than two contributors gave their 12 points to, so it could still be wide open. It just really proves that there's a strong and diverse range of songs in the selection. There's really something for everyone. Um, that being said, I know my personal favorite was Anne Marlene with Kulm, and she's been doing quite well on the charts as well. I don't think you should sleep on this one. Like I know Tommy Cash is right up the top, but usually when I see the chart updates, it's like Tommy Cash is the first Eesti Laul song, and then the next one down is Anne Marlene with Kuhn. So if she does perform that really, really well live, I know we haven't seen a like full live performance from Anne Marlene, and I've seen like a couple of acoustic things which were really promising, but they're a bit slower, so probably easier to deliver vocally. But if we have a really strong live performance from Anne Marlene, I seriously wouldn't rule this one out. I personally loved it because it reminded me of like all those really good early 2000s trance songs from back in the day. Um, but I do think there are moments there where like you've got these lovely contrasts between like hard hitting bassy bits, synths, strobe lights flashing, that sort of thing. And then like these really gentle, softer moments, these quieter moments, which I thought was really powerful.
Yeah, no, definitely a strong contender as well. As we've sort of said, this lineup is very good. But yeah, thank you so much, Laura. I love like how well you know the Estonian national finals. So always great to hear your insights. Yeah, thank you. All right, moving further along the Baltic, we're going to Lithuania. So unlike Estonia, they had five semi-finals before the final, and so poor Hayley covering the probably had to sit through a lot. But we have a bookie's favorite here too in Catharsis. And as Haley's leading, I'd like to throw to her. Do you think this is a certainty to represent Lithuania this year?
No, I think this is wide open. I really do. As I've been watching, I think I've watched four out of the five heats each morning, and this was actually in the heat that Laura watched instead of me. I had to sleep in that morning, and um, I don't know, but I just don't know if I can see this song at Eurovision. I'm really worried that they would have a Latvia Southern Lights moment if they went to Eurovision. It's one of those songs that it's sort of there's nothing there to really grip onto. I'm just not sure if it's a competition song. I will say though, I'm a massive U2 fan, and there is a lot of U2 in this, so this will go onto my everyday playlist because I really enjoyed it. But whether it's a competition song, I'm not so sure. Laurie, you watched the live version of this. Was it any good?
Yeah, I thought it was quite strong, considering like obviously the genre that it is. I know we don't tend to see too many rock songs at Eurovision, but that I think that actually plays to its advantage if it did get chosen because there's not really too many rock entries in the contest yet, and there's not too many songs like it, so it would definitely stand out.
Mm,
Personally, it reminded me of the band Interpol, and then if you're
yeah.
just like, what's going on? Listen to Obstacle One again and come back to me. So yes, and you took the words right out of my mouth, Hayley. I literally have on my notes. I think it could be another Southern Lifestyle entry where it's a quality Baltic indie rock song that just narrowly misses out with the televote because it could get like overlooked on first listen. But I will say there are strong televoting allies in Lithuania's semi-final, like Latvia and the UK, to help them out. And regardless, Lithuania should be really proud to send this if they do decide to go down that path.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how this song reminds people of different bands and all that.
Yeah.
I very randomly wrote down in my notes, reminds me of the soundtrack of the first Twilight movie. I don't know why. It just reminded me of this. I might be maybe I was a bit, tired when I was listening to it, but that was what it reminded me of. Emma, do you have any thoughts on Catharsis or any of the other Lithuanian entries in the lineup?
Yeah, well, Kinshasa. So I've only listened to the Lithuanian tracks today for the first time, but I same as Hayley. Next to Kinshasa, I had written U2 because it reminded me of U2. The other thing I picked up, I thought the vocals was I detected a little bit of Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam in parts. I thought,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of that going on here. I thought it was. I thought this is a great track, but same as what Hayley mentioned. I don't know. At times, I thought it kind of drifted off into like pure rock. In that, I think it sort of drew people away from the What am I trying to say? It just sort of went off and did its own thing a little bit, and maybe I think that might detract from it. So there were parts that were great that I think people would identify with a lot, like the U2 sound, that of those big bands that were, popular back in the 80s and 90s. But then I sort of felt there was a lot of sort of instrumental parts that I just sort of thought maybe you'd lose people. I don't know. I need to listen to it more than once, obviously, to solidify my thoughts on that. But the one, after listening to all of them, the one that jumped out at me was Lion Checker and Drove, which I probably also pronouncing correctly. That was one that I listened to. That one really drew my attention straight away. Just so different. It almost sounded like something, I don't know, you expect Ukraine or someone to say. I don't know. It just stood out to me as if I thought I wouldn't, if I didn't know what country's national final I was listening to, I wouldn't necessarily have picked Lithuania. But that one, that's the one I want to go back and listen to the most again. I'm still sort of working out where I'm ranking the Lithuanian songs, but that was the one that I went, oh yeah, definitely, I want to hear that one again.
Yeah, no, interesting. Yeah, definitely a very varied lineup in Lithuania. But I'd like to go back to Laura and ask who she thinks is in the running, else is in the running to go to Basel. And Laura, would you like to talk a bit about the wild card controversy as well? Yeah.
Okay, so the format this year for Lithuania was there were 5 heats directly to a final, and only 2 acts could qualify from each heat. Now, these were decided 50% by televote and 50% by the jury vote. Now, for the most part, it worked okay, even if I think like they need to have a bit of a rethink of the format. But there were 2 acts that performed extremely well with the televote. One got 12 points, that was Black Biceps, and the other one got 10 points. And the jury didn't give them enough points so that either of those acts could qualify. And I know at the time, Black Biceps had like the highest televote in raw televoting numbers of all of the acts that had performed so far. So yeah, I do imagine there might have been a bit of backlash with the televoters. It's just like, well, what's the point of voting for this song if the jury's just not going to give it enough points to qualify? I wanted to see this in the final. So in the end, they decided to award 2 wild cards to the top 2 acts with the televote that didn't directly qualify, so that those 2 acts could be in the final. Yeah, so that the final is now 12 acts instead of 10. Personally, yeah, I have to side with the Lithuanian televoters on this one because so basically in my top 3, 2 of the top 3 in my personal top 3 were the 2 wild cards.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they were very strong songs. What is
Yeah.
Lithuania doing?
I know.
Jury needs to have a hard, long look at
Exactly.
themselves.
I have
Yeah.
this on my notes as well. So, um, I mean, I think across the five heats, I felt like it's been a little bit samey this year. And each year there's always a song that jumps out at me. And I remember sort of, when you're watching national finals in Australia, it's 5 a.m. Black Biceps came on and absolutely nailed it. I woke up and there was so much energy on stage, and I was so certain that it was a qualifier. I started cranking out the Aussievision qualifiers article as Black Biceps being one of them. I'd done the graphic and everything. So when I saw that up on my screen, I was so sad for them because they really just were on the next level. They were so good. Um, and yeah, and then I found out later on that they had a huge televote. But with the wild cards, I wonder what has really been the driving force in choosing two cards. Did they want more diversity in the lineup, or did they just want to make a longer show? I don't really understand why they've done it, but I think it's been the right decision because now we've got, I think, two of the best songs now back into the final where they deserve to be. So I think this weekend is wide open
I
because of
think
those
that's
Mm.
two.
also part of the reason because like they wanted to make
Mm.
the competition a bit more open and they
Yeah,
wanted more people to televote for the songs that receive very strong televotes. So I think that
Yeah,
also was part of the decision.
yeah.
yeah.
Very
Well,
interesting.
I was going to say that was the other song that stood out to me was Black Bicep. That was so yeah, that's a great choice. That it's actually I think that's really bringing something to the national final. That would be a shame if they went there. So
Yeah.
I'm so pleased for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
And I
enjoyed
like
Black
the other
Biceps.
and I like the other wild card. I think is
Oh,
it Lipa? Yeah, I
yeah.
really
Yeah,
like her.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's my favorite. That's my
Mm.
Yeah.
personal favorite. 12
Yeah.
points from me go to
Yeah.
Lipa.
12 points from me as well. I listened to them side by side several times, and Black Biceps has just been edged out. And I just want to give a shout out to another song that I really enjoyed was the Sophie Ali song, The Bluest Bell. Has
Mm.
anyone else heard that song?
Yes, yes, I loved
It's a
it.
ripper. Yeah, it's really good.
Yes,
Listen really
yes.
closely to the lyrics.
Yes.
They're interesting.
It's a very sort of 90s indie kind of feel I got from that. And I thought, oh, I'm really enjoying this. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and her vocals were perfect as
Mm.
well. So I really enjoyed that song as well.
yeah, definitely a lot of good songs in this lineup. And as you said, Haley, quite wide open. So I'm sure you'll have an interesting Saturday figuring out who's going to win. So
Yeah, and I
yes,
won't pre-prepare any articles for Aussievision this time, I think.
no, all good. Yes, but you also got Poland the night before, which is the final country that we're going to talk about. So they're changing things up. They're having their national final on Valentine's Day, and what better Valentine date to watch a Eurovision show potentially? So no Jojo Siwa in the
Yeah.
final lineup, but was heavily rumored for several months. But still a very interesting mix of songs. The main one I'd like us to talk today is Justina, who represented Poland in 1995. So I think, Haley, you're leading this country. What do you think of Justina, and do you think she's a shoo-in to represent Poland?
Look, I do. I think this is a definite. It's 100% televote on Saturday. I think she'll storm home. I see a really compelling package here. I think when this goes to Eurovision, Poland just need to like pull back on the staging a little bit. It's a big song. It has its own identity, and they don't need to throw everything at it. I see some kind of Ruslana Wild Dancers vibe here. She's sort of singing that, she's a queen, and I see it's a shame there's only six people on stage at Eurovision because I think this would be one of those songs that would benefit from 20 dancers with her. But it's a total wall of sound. And it's so big in points that when she sings those long notes that kind of turn into almost like a scream, they're almost drowned out. So as her voice sort of breaks and then it's just an incredible song. There's so much power and so much noise going on here. So I just hope other people like it as much as I do as well.
Yeah, I see Emma nodding vigorously, so
Yes.
I'm assuming she also likes it a lot.
I
Yes, is that
do.
right?
That's my 12 points. That one from Poland.
Yeah.
I loved it. It is very in your face, like
Yeah.
it starts off at 100 and just goes from there. But I really loved it. Yeah, but you're right. That I think it would be very easy to overstage this. Yeah. So it will be very interesting to see. Actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing this live because
Mm.
yeah, there's just so much potential, lots of pyro and oh, who knows what else, But yeah, I actually went back and watched Justina's 1995 Eurovision performance, and what a contrast. Like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, wow, usually you would expect, you know, somebody, when we see some of these performers come back to national finals after they've already done Eurovision, they're often not as good in most cases. But this is the reverse, I think, where Justina's just like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, so bring it on. I'm really hoping this one gets through.
And
Yeah, me
last year,
too. I do like
remember,
it.
so last year, remember, I think they did like an internal selection with the two singers, is that right?
That's
And
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
one was Luna and one was Justina, and the whole Eurovision community were losing their mind about her because, she was going to be coming back. So I guess she has that support behind her in a way, and some people will know who she is as well. So she's got that on her side.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely is one of the most popular artists in Poland as well, like up to Edita Górniak level almost. So yes, very be a very strong winner. Laura, do you have any thoughts about Justina?
So I think Justina Songaya is very well placed to go to Eurovision. It does tick all the Eurovision boxes, I would say. Um, I I do think it's very easy to overstage. I will agree with you there. But I also agree with your point on her, like basically singing so much that her voice almost breaks in places. And yes, on one hand, there's power there, but by contrast, it's like, could she overcook the live vocals a little bit? Could she go a little bit too hard? So I reckon she might need to like just restrain it a little bit just to make sure she's got a voice for the whole
Yeah.
song. Um, so that would definitely be a strong candidate for Eurovision. However, I don't think she's an absolute 100% lock. I do think there is another song that could potentially challenge for the win, and that's a song called Listerka. Now, it's in the funk genre, which is fairly new
Yep.
sort of genre, quite viral on TikTok, and it's in a minority dialect. It's got a lot of those sort of traditional cultural elements mixed with the modern funk sounds, with like those distorted synths, distorted bass, all of that. And I have been informed that this dialect is quite similar to Ukrainian. It could appeal to their diaspora, which they have quite a strong diaspora. So I don't necessarily think it's 100% a look for Justina, but I do wish everybody all the best.
Mm.
Yes,
I
no,
really,
I
I
think
really like
yeah.
that song too, Laura. It's
Yeah.
my second favorite as well.
Same. It
I
was
think
my
those are
two
the
points
two
as
clear
well.
standouts.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, no, I think yeah, they're definitely two very strong songs. Emma, was there anyone else that stood out for you in the Polish lineup?
I'm just having a look. No, I'm actually going to say no in this instance. Those two for me were the clear standouts, and I've actually listened to them both several times since my first listen. So I don't think for me I can't see anybody else taking it
Yeah,
for Poland.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Hayley the last word, but before I do, I want to say my thought quickly so that
Yeah.
because Hayley is the expert. I personally do like Teo, not to be confused with Belarus Teo from 2014. This one's from Poland. I just really love a good Polish ballad, and I think he delivers this one with such deep and heart-wrenching feeling for a male vocalist. But I'm going to leave the last word to Hayley as our lead for Poland if she has any other insights into the songs.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that because I've got notes about him. So he was a 11th song added as a wild card. card. And I feel like wild cards are really popular this year. I don't know if they're sort of looking at maybe the baby lasagna effect. It's not exactly the same, but you know, those artists that either have just slipped in around the edges or weren't on the original list to go. And you know, you look at his success. So that song is a fair bit of talk about that song. And I think the lineup for this Polish national final this year is really good. I was really impressed when I listened to all of the songs. They're all very good. And back to the Listerka, that song reminds me of a slowed down Go Away's Shum.
Yes.
Mhm.
Go Away was what came to mind for me when I listened to it as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Same.
It's sort of the only thing I would say about that song is it kind of tracks along almost, I hate to use the word monotonous, but quite level, and there's no big moment for you to stick to. So but I mean staging can change everything, right? So who knows? But that's my second favorite as well. But even though I'm pretty certain Dacine is going to win, maybe yeah, Tio or Listerka as well might, or it might be something completely different. Who knows?
Yeah, well, Poland can be very, very unpredictable at Eurovision, so who knows? The only certainty is they'll have over the top 90s things graphics for their Eurovision entry on the Eurovision stage, but who knows who will win. But yes, thank you so much to everyone for such great analysis and for Poland. And all the countries in general. So we had Lithuania, Estonia, and Norway as well. You can check out our website and YouTube and Spotify for all our coverage of these songs. And we will have a separate video on Sanremo by, of course, our Italian Queen Liv and our editor Dale, which will be up on our website soon. But thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. It was such great analysis as always. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you all on a video soon. Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
you. Bye.